Welcome to the Flynn Brothers podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Jimmy. Today's big idea, Costco, the only corporation Americans trust.
We discuss our favorite parts of the Costco experience and try to explain why Americans love it so much.
Later, you'll hear John's brief history of Costco before I share some eye-opening statistics about the world's third largest retailer.
Finally, we all trust Costco. But not everything is as trustworthy. We'll investigate this in a new game we like to call Do You Trust?
It's all coming up. But first, here's the Solons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, I have many fond memories of childhood. I suppose I'm lucky in that sense that I have so many fond memories. But one of my fondest is going to Costco. Do you have fond childhood memories of going to Costco?
Yeah, I think it's one of the places that, when you get older, the places that you went to as a kid, you're like, wow, that place used to be huge. And then you go as a kid and you're like, this is not big at all. Costco is still huge.
Right, yes. Even as you age, it stays huge. When I was a kid, I loved going into their cold storage section where they keep like the eggs and the produce. You go through those plastic flaps and then it's, 30, 40 degrees colder in there. I always really enjoyed that. And then, of course, like you said, not only is Costco itself huge, but the items they're selling are huge. Huge, cakes, huge 5-pound tubes of ground beef, huge furniture, huge everything.
Gigantic
right?
teddy bears, all sorts of fun things.
Big plastic buckets of peanut butter pretzels, you
Yeah.
name it. Now that we're older, I will sometimes go to Costco in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles Costcos are madhouses. I have been to 2 or 3, and they are just absolute madhouses. It's like the scene in The Lion King when Mufasa dies, and there's just a stampede. That's what it's like. No matter what time you go, every time you go to a Los Angeles Costco, it is absolute chaos. And of course, what is all the hoopla over? The free samples, right? People are going crazy for these free samples. Are you a big free sample guy at Costco?
No. They're typically like the stuff that they're trying to push on you that I feel like is probably not doing very well. The other side of it is, that, they've got people whipping them up, but there's such a demand. The free sample has just gone so big. It's huge.
Yes.
It's no longer big. It's huge, and you don't want to be huge because there's such a demand for these items that people are taking them when they're still piping hot out of the toaster oven or whatever.
Yes.
So you're scalding yourself on a, 1/8 of a ham and cheese croissant. It's not worth it to me.
I'm all for frugality, and I loved even as a kid getting the free samples. I think it's very fun. It's almost like a treasure hunt when you're a kid. But as I've gotten older, and maybe it's because Los Angeles Costco's are so busy, I never get them. I just am not really interested in kind of the processed snacks or like you said, it always seems like stuff they're pushing or like a new item. They've got some sort of sponsorship or partnership, and they feel the obligation to have the representative there and to push it, and I'm just not really into it.
Yeah, I'll be clear, I like that they exist there. I like that there are free samples. It testifies to the abundance of Costco. However, I do not partake.
Something I love about Los Angeles Costco's is Los Angeles, particularly where we live, is a city rife with huge multi-generational families. We live in areas that there's a lot of Armenian people and a lot of Latinos, right? And, generalized. And of course, they have very big families. A lot of them will have houses where grandma lives there and the grandkids live there and the parents live there. And there's maybe 3 different houses on the property. And it's a really cool way to live. And a lot of these families will go to Costco on the weekend and just absolutely load up. And you'll see 3 generations of family getting a bunch of stuff, right? Getting ready for a big Sunday dinner. And it adds to the amount of people that are there at the Costco, but it makes it very fun. I mean, it makes, what you are buying seem paltry by comparison because these huge families are buying enough for 50 people. So it's like, oh, I just got 24 eggs for one person. I can't really compete,
It does seem like an entire extended family is really the only amount of people that Costco really makes sense for. It should be at least 10 to 12 people going at whatever you buy at Costco.
My fiance is the reason we are able to go to Costco. She has the Costco membership, so anytime I get the food court or we go there to buy groceries, it's due to her. But I wanted to run through really quick kind of the current things we like to buy at Costco. Over the years, there have been many things we've liked to buy. Some things, will be on this list. Other things they've stopped selling. That'll happen sometimes at Costco. The supplier makes it too expensive, and they say, sorry, we got to keep prices low. We won't sell it anymore, and they find someone else. But here's what we currently like to buy at Costco, and we both contributed to this as you would a grocery list, right? The members of your household, family, they contribute to it. Number one is Kirkland Signature Tech Pants. What are tech pants?
Tech pants are stretchy slacks, basically. They allow you to really hike up your knees. You almost feel as though you're wearing sweats, but they look remarkably presentable. I think it's one of the great achievements in athleisure fashion that we've figured out ways to make presentable clothes, very comfortable. And these were so good that Lululemon filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against them for essentially ripping off their design.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, basically these pants are like, what, $17, $18?
Outrageously cheap.
And they look
suspiciously so.
And they look like slacks, and they're very comfortable. They're just a great buy. Thank you, Kirkland Signature. We are big fans of fish sticks, and there's this company, Trident Seafood, who makes the greatest fish sticks we have ever had. I think it's Alaskan, some type of whitefish.
Pollock, halibut?
Yeah, something like, not halibut, but that would be very expensive. I think cod or pollock.
Maybe cod.
But it's really, really good. Those are wonderful. If you're a fish stick person, Trident Seafood, great. We do like fish tacos with them or whatever else. They're great. Another Kirkland signature item, the oat milk. They have these big slabs of the little cartons of oat milk. Those are wonderful. We're big oat milk guys. We like them in oatmeal. We like them in cereal. We feel compared to almond milk or the other dairy alternative milks, it blends in pretty well with the cereal or oatmeal, doesn't it?
It does. It has the least extra flavor to it. And these are really nice because they're these sort of rectangular prisms that you can store at room temperature, and then you put them in the fridge. And they're also nice because, you don't want to buy too much oat milk because it can go bad, right? After about 7 days. So they come in small individual containers, but you get a bunch of them.
Our favorite item currently, Kirkland Signature Virginia Peanuts. We love any nuts for that matter, but the Virginia Peanuts, if you've never had a Virginia peanut, it's different from a regular peanut. The Virginia ones, they're bigger, they're crunchier, and they have that sort of less of that muddy, dirty, typical peanut flavor. And they're just really wonderful. They come in these huge, big tins. I don't know, probably like a couple of pounds of shelled, roasted, salted peanuts. It's like $7. Good boost of protein throughout the day. It's perfect for that 3 p.m. snack, get you from lunch to dinner. They're just, I can't sing their praises enough.
They're delicious. They're clean tasting, a nice level of salt, not too much. And yeah, just roasted to the right level, not burnt or anything.
Another Kirkland signature item, the tilapia loins. They are in the freezer section. When we're getting our fish sticks, we get our tilapia loins. Again, tilapia, like the peanuts, typically a very muddy, kind of dirty flavor, but these loins, they're meaty, they're thick, they're delicious, and again, really, really great price. We love buying wine at Costco. You could get a ton of great bottles for like under $10. They're very affordable. You can get a lot of international wines like French or Spanish or Italian. Again, very affordably. They do have like $100+ bottles you can buy there, so you can buy very fancy stuff. But just in general, like I feel like Costco has very good prices on alcohol. Like even their Kirkland signature alcohol, they have like giant bottles of whiskey or tequila for like under $20, where you would go to a liquor store and spend 3-4 times as much, and the quality's pretty comparable.
Absolutely. It was a huge bonus for someone to somehow have access to a Costco card in college, because that is a very affordable way to fund a party.
One of our longtime favorite items, Kirkland Signature California Olive Oil. It's some of the greatest olive oil you can buy in any store. If you live in California, you should buy California olive oil. And frankly, anywhere in America, it's usually good to buy California olive oil. People think, Italy, Greece, this is where the great olive oil is made. And it is true, but usually you get fresher stuff from California.
That's right. Olive oil is a fruit product, meaning that it does not get better as it ages. And Costco will typically only stock it at part of the years, typically more or less right after the harvest is done, which is sort of in the October to December range. It also, these are things that you want to look for. It has the harvest date on it. It has where it came from. And if it's just one region, that's usually pretty good. And it comes in a dark glass bottle, which is good for preservation.
Helpful hints if you're buying olive oil. We love the cheese at Costco, the kinds specifically. They have a great Pecorino Romano, and then they have great Tillamook cheddar. Typically, the big brick of Tillamook cheddar will run you $20+. There at Costco, $11. Tried and true. The spray sunscreen is the last item. You get a 2-pack. It can be about $11. Again, you're spending so much on sunscreen. Fellas like us, Irish, pale, get red even when a lamp is on. We need sunscreen, and it gets so expensive, so it's good when you can get it affordably during these summer months, isn't it?
It's basically half price of the sunscreen that I'm looking at right now that I bought from a nearby pharmacy. And I think the other thing about Costco is, as shrinkflation and all that hits the American economy, Costco is one of the few places where I feel like when I'm buying something, I'm like, yeah, that's about the right price.
Yes,
or, ooh,
yes.
yeah, got to buy that. That's a good price.
Absolutely.
Everything makes sense there. All the pricing, I think, is about right on.
Well, then you're going to love this next part. We're going to talk about the food court at Costco, where the hot dog and soda deal has been $1.50 since 1985. That absolutely blew my mind. It has been 40 years. The hot dog and soda is still $1.50. Let me ask you this. How do you like your hot dog?
Everything. As many condiments as you can put on it. Some people don't like ketchup. I do like ketchup, but I like it paired with mustard and relish and mayonnaise. I like everything on it.
I agree. When I get a ballpark or Costco hot dog, I go nuts on the condiments, the nuclear green relish, the onions, the ketchup, mustard. I like it all. It's kind of mystery meat and not dogs. You want to dress it up. I also like just a good mustard and onions. Leaning more into those kind of pungent flavors. I also like that as well. But I agree. Ballpark or Costco, loaded up. How do you feel about Costco pizza?
It is perfect B+ pizza. It is, there's not a lot of refinement to it. You can tell they're cranking them out by the dozen, like they're just whipping those things out. But they are very satisfying, and, it has that special childhood flavor to it. You've had this at barbecues or school events growing up, and so it just has that sort of nostalgic taste that kind of can't be quantified in terms of quality.
Last I checked, a slice is about $2. A whole pizza is $9.95.
Whew.
I personally love Costco pizza. There'll be times in my life where I'll go to an event and someone will say, "Oh, I got pizza. Sorry, it's just Costco pizza." I'm like, "What are you apologizing for? I'm stoked. I love Costco pizza. You get it by the slice. I usually get one or two. They're absolutely huge." Fun fact, the cheese pizza has more calories than the pepperoni pizza. When you get a whole pizza, I would guess because they don't have pepperoni on the cheese, they just do extra cheese, maybe more calories in cheese than pepperoni, and that's what accounts for it, if I had to guess.
I'd say you nailed it.
Just thinking like Costco. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, absolutely love Costco pizza. So if you're feeling in a generous mood, you can send a few over to us at our Flynn Brothers. I don't guess you can't do it through the email. Never mind. Last thing I love at the food court is the soft serve. I will say the soft serve has kind of an odd flavor. I don't know if it's like the dairy they use or the lack of dairy they use, but you can get a 16-ounce monster sundae for $2.49. And where are you going to beat that?
Nowhere, man. That is unbelievable. Soft serve too. It's a kind of difficult to come by dessert, outside of maybe McDonald's or, on the East Coast it's bigger, but over here on the West Coast, it's difficult to get your hands on it. And it is one of the most aesthetically pleasing desserts. And boy, there's nothing that really builds anticipation like just seeing it. You always get another thing. You always get so much soft serve. I've never felt like I've been cheaped on soft serve.
Even the small size is usually a nice stack of it.
Yeah.
But, part of why I think we like Costco is it fits this theme of things we've talked about, whether it's horse racing or Looney Tunes, these sort of distinctly American things we really like. And there's a few things that Costco appeals to that Americans especially love. And I think one thing is sensory overload. When you go into a Costco, whether it's the size of the items, whether it's the sheer amount of items, whether it's all the noise and fracas of all the people in there, whether it's the smell of the food cooking, there's really just a sensory overload. But something that's interesting, have you ever walked into a Costco and heard them playing music?
No, there's no music. The only sound that you hear upon entering a Costco is the vortex of wind that they blast at the door, I assume to keep flies out, but it almost makes you feel like you're walking through a portal into another dimension.
Most grocery stores, bump a little pop music or classic rock or whatever, but yeah, absolutely no music at Costco. It's sensory overload, but it's also very business-like. Like you go there and it's just a warehouse with goods on the shelves, right? There's that great old Patton Oswalt bit about the grocery store having this sort of debauched Roman emperor side to it, where you kind of say like, oh, line your goods up on parallel shelves and I'll sort of walk along and see whatever lights my fancy or whatever. I'm just butchering his bit, but Costco very much appeals to that, right? It has that debauched Roman emperor style to it, whether it's the free samples, whether it's them encouraging impulse purchases, whether it's the huge quantities of food. It really does appeal to these kind of base instincts we have as Americans.
Absolutely. I think the other thing about Costco is you can just really get almost anything you need. You can get technology. You can get a gigantic 98-inch screen TV. You could get a lamb, an entire lamb, if you wanted it. And if what's more debauched and Roman than purchasing an entire lamb. But yeah, it's really in concert with this free-for-all of goods of almost every variety, there is the value to it as well. And I think that's what Americans really love, is having a great time, getting a huge thing, and also saving a buck. It's sort of this duality at the heart of the American consumer.
Yes, the bang for your buck is huge. We mentioned the multi-generational families that'll shop at Costco and people who plan for events and parties, and that's another uniquely American thing where it's just like, you're together with family consuming, right? That's a uniquely American thing. What is more American than filling up an SUV with 4 kids and too many Costco items? I mean, isn't that just America in a nutshell?
That's what it is. The crammed to the gills with people and goods. And you're off. You're able to survive for weeks on end with all of your things.
But you hear a lot of talk nowadays about people and their distrust of big corporations in America, whether it's, fast food used to be so cheap, but now it's over $10 just to get a meal at the cheapest fast food restaurant. Or, I use Amazon a lot, but I don't really like Jeff Bezos, and I don't really like, the waste of resources that the company exhibits. There is this massive distrust and dissatisfaction with so many major corporations in America, and yet I feel more so now than ever, Americans trust Costco and Americans love Costco. And Costco almost used to be this kind of like stuffy, lame thing. And it's like Costco's kind of like cooler than ever. Don't you sort of feel that way?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, too, it's like the only store that's a critical store to go to. Like, their online platform does have some things, but really the experience of going to Costco
the
is
brick
not,
and mortar, you're saying. Yes.
It's not replicated in the same way that, for a period of time, you and we ordered our groceries right to the door. So much of stuff is bought on Amazon now that I can't think of the last time I went into like a technology store, video stores, music shops. All of these places where people used to congregate and go to buy goods have largely migrated online, but the Costco experience has remained steady.
A couple fun facts about Costco. They spend $0 a year on PR and advertising. I mean, think about it. Have you ever seen a commercial for Costco?
No.
Never. That's because they spend $0 a year on PR and advertising. Another fun fact, they never mark up anything more than 15%. So we talked about those great deals and great values. There is this beauty to Costco where they aren't so profit motivated that they're going to alienate their consumers, right? They know they have the membership fees and they know they collect money on that it's like, okay, like we already make a lot of our bread and butter on those membership fees. Let's now pass the savings on, right? So there's a little less guilt and a little more incentive to help out the consumer. But you think about it, it's just like, whether, we talk a lot about food, but it's like, do you need new glasses? Do you need medication? Are you going to a party and need to bring something? Like, are you refurnishing a house? Like, Costco literally has everything. And I think that is part of why there's that trust from Americans. It's like, yes, Amazon, could say the same thing, but it's just like Costco in this very different way has this trust from the American people.
Yeah, I think it's just because they're no BS, with this lack of advertising, this lack of PR. Costco is not trying to sell you anything other than the goods that are on their shelves, and they will never be marked up more than 15%. And if you pay $50 a year, isn't that it for the membership?
Maybe $60.
Maybe $60 a year now. Spit in your hand and shake. That's a deal.
Can you think of another corporation that Americans trust as much as Costco?
I think it used to maybe be like any of the big ones that are really, really integrated into people's lives in terms of like Google or Apple or Amazon. But the thing is that there have been just investigations into those huge corporations that have uncovered really unseemly things that most people, although they use these products, don't necessarily trust these companies. There's never really been a expose that exposed something where I'm like, all right, I'm out on Costco, or like you would take a moral stand against Costco.
Well, we'll get into some of that a little later.
Ooh.
Tease. I think you kind of wrap it up. I think Target, Walmart maybe fit into this category of trust, but I think they have both entered this era now where Walmart is seen and always has been seen as like, it's a little more cheap. It's a little more like lower brow. And then Target, I think people have political issues, with them scaling back DEI and stuff like that. I think there's a disconnect there. And I think it's allowed Costco in the last year or so to really emerge as the number one front runner in terms of trustworthiness from the American people. Let me put it this way. If Costco ran for political office, it would be 100% to 0. Whoever the opponent is, it's going to win, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And with Target and Walmart, there is that sort of accusation that they're displacing local businesses, which you don't really typically ever hear with Costco. And maybe it's just because they offer something that no mom and pop shop offers. They're completely separate. They're their own thing, and they exist in this hallowed realm of American consumerism that nobody else can touch.
More Costco praises after the break. And we're back. Well, before the break, we were talking about how Costco has kind of been reinvented as cool in recent memory. And I wonder if part of that has to do with the Kirkland Signature brand. One thing I was hearing about recently is, you'll see a lot of people with like Kirkland Signature crew neck sweaters or T-shirts. Yeah. And I've been seeing things online about those sell out immediately. Like Costco can't keep those in stock. And then Costco will try selling items that say Costco on them, and those things don't sell at all. I wonder, is there kind of a distinction between Kirkland Signature and Costco, whereas people think, oh, maybe Costco is lame and stuffy, but Kirkland Signature is super cool? Are they mutually exclusive? Is there a rivalry? What's going on with the two brands?
I think one, Kirkland Signature is less on the nose. It's sort of a dog whistle in a positive way. Usually that term is deployed for racism, but in this it's just like, Kirkland Signature, you shop at Costco.
Yes.
And then I think the other side of it too is that logo has not changed at all. And I think there was originally sort of this ironic embrace of it. And just like anything that gets embraced ironically, eventually it goes from ironic to sincere. And I think that's basically what's happened, in the same way that sort of dad jeans are seen as cool or something like that.
So Kirkland Signature is the Nicole Kidman AMC ad of generic brands.
Yes,
saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's so not even corny, but just like there's this nostalgia attached to it, or people originally said it, oh, I like that wink, and then the wink falls away.
Speaking of sort of generic brands. We're guys who oftentimes when we're at the store and we are confronted with the name brand versus the generic brand, we will often choose the generic brand. And I think Kirkland Signature, it's sort of the king of all the generic brands. And for those who don't know, with generic brands, typically what happens is, say a company like Coca-Cola makes cola, and they have their own label on the Coca-Cola. But then sometimes they will have leftover Coca-Cola, or they will lease the recipe to the generic brand, and then it's basically the same exact recipe. It just has a different label on it, right? You'll see this with cereals. You'll see this with chips. It's in so many different items, countless ones you could name. And they have, Target's generic brands called like Essentials or and then
Up and Up, maybe.
Yes. And then there's like at the Albertsons, Safeway, it's like Signature, right? And
Ralph's is Kroger's.
Right. Yeah, why do you think there's a stigma attached to sort of the generic brand, but then at the same time, there's this embrace of the generic brand with Kirkland Signature?
I think people, for whatever reason, assume that the generic brand is cheaper because the wrapping of these products are cheaper. They typically cut corners in the packaging. They don't make it look as flashy as the name brands, which give a lot of extra weight to the way that their products look on shelves. But the whole point of Costco is that there is no flash, and that in and of itself is their flash. It's like a, major league pitcher who only throws 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, and it's like, this is what you're getting. It's coming at you. You can hit it or not.
Right.
And
I don't throw curveballs. I don't throw knuckleballs. It's just the fastball, but it's the best in the game.
That's right. And I think the other thing too is people have tried so many Costco signature or Kirkland signature things that they know the quality is high. Whereas, I think sometimes with the generic brands at your typical supermarket, the Coke maybe doesn't have the same taste as the Coca-Cola.
It's true. It can be a period of trial and error before you decide which generic brands are good. Talk a little bit about, you mentioned earlier sort of Lululemon suing Costco over these identical tech pants, but Costco is selling it cheaper. Can you just go into a little more detail about that?
I think it's basically emblematic of the whole thing that Costco does. Lululemon is a brand that not only has a lot of marketing surrounding them and this sort of prestige and mystique around their products, but you can't help but feel that they are ludicrously overpriced and purposefully so to display themselves as a luxury item. And it's like, well, if it's expensive, it must be good. I think that's a way that Americans think about a lot of things, from, colleges to luxury to watches. And I think that's what Lululemon has, this like artificialness about their brand that Costco just punches through and is like, those pants, maybe ours are a little bit worse, but they're $17. They're $100 less.
Yeah. Costco's almost the great equalizer. It cuts through the BS and gives you the product for no more than a 15% markup. That's wonderful. Going to now, I think it's time we indulge our audience. We've done it now in back-to-back weeks. Lucky listener. John's brief history of Costco. We got this information courtesy of an article that we're going to reference later on in the episode as well. It was a New York Times article written by Ben Ryder-Howe entitled "How Costco Hacked the American Shopping Psyche." Go ahead, delve into a bit of your brief history of Costco.
Okay, so the initial version of the company was founded by a man named Saul Price, which, if your last name is Price, you maybe were just born to found Costco. It's one of those names that you just, there's such a magic sometimes that goes with names, and his is one of them. He converted a San Diego warehouse into markets for paying members, called it FedMart, and some warehouses were airplane hangars formerly owned by the reclusive billionaire Howard Hughes.
Oh, yes. He kept his fingernails in there, didn't he?
And urine. Eventually, Price was forced out of FedMart, and he establishes Price Club in the 70s and later Costco. The two merge into Costco in 1993 is basically what we know today.
So Price Club was named after Saul Price, and I was just remembering this. When you have a name that fits exactly your profession, I just learned this. It's called an aptronym. Like it's apt. It makes sense, right? So we've talked about this before. Tim Duncan, a basketball player who dunked a lot, right? So that's great. The funny thing about Price Club is it was called Price Club so long ago, almost, 40, 50 years ago. However, whenever our mom talks about Costco, she still refers to it as Price Club. That was something where I kind of remembered, Price Club was the earlier version of Costco. But my goodness, boy, you learn something and it's hard to unlearn it, ain't it?
It is. And it's also just hilarious because you would think Price Club is in regard to the cheap prices.
Right.
But no, it is named after the man. It's like if the
Yes.
old spaghetti factory was founded by Mr. Spaghetti. Okay, so this Saul Price, though, pretty cool figure, like definitely a pioneering figure in business. And these are some quotes from a book called The Joy of Costco, written by David and Susan Schwartz. And here's some quotes from it. He grew up in a family of socialists. He was a capitalist. He liked to make money, but he was pro-union, pro-labor, pro-little guy. And later on, everything was about trust. He would rather lose your business than your trust. I think this is the way we wish more CEOs and founders of companies were. And a lot of people, particularly in tech, come up with this ethos. We're looking out for the little guy. We're here to change the world, to make it a better place. And as soon as the opportunity for massive profits arises, all that goes out to the window, and it's purely about embracing whatever will make as much money as possible. And it's just incredible that Costco has been able to maintain this ethos in its stores for as long as it has. And you wonder if it will last forever, or if perhaps we are in the final golden age of Costco, and 10 years down the line, it'll be unrecognizable as the company that it once was. Me personally, I hope it never changes.
Yeah, these quotes about Saul Price are very interesting. His socialist upbringing, his capitalist later years. And it really does sum up Costco's, as of now, timeless business model. My sneaking suspicion and my cynical side is that there will eventually be a CEO who does away with this. But the great thing about Costco, there was something from the article we mentioned, the New York Times article, where someone had done the math, and essentially Costco's stock price steadily grows 17% every single year. And you wonder if that is something that if say more movie studios adhered to, right? They weren't obsessed with like, okay, this year, like we got to go 10 times higher and 100% more and whatever, or just most businesses followed this, we would have a better economy. I think it's true that we would, and people would just be generally happier and things would be more stable. There's no reason to always try to maximize things at the expense of people. And I think this is something that Costco understands, and obviously is the reason why so many people trust and like the business.
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's a rarity, though. And I think the sad thing is that this is a company that just has such a trust in the American consumer and also provides what people want, whereas other businesses, I think, sadly, struggle to figure out what it is that people want. For like movies, it is hard to say, like, we can consistently put out movies every year that will make 17%. Right. However, at the same time, I think there has been such a feast or famine mentality that has infected a lot of companies where they make tremendous risks in search of tremendous rewards, whereas Costco is, to use another baseball analogy, content with hitting singles and doubles and scoring runs that way.
Versus strikeouts and home runs.
Yeah.
Some statistics I pulled from Ben Ryder Howe's article. These are all about Costco. Costco has 134 million members worldwide. This was as of 2024 when the article came out. In 2019, a quarter of Americans shopped at Costco. Now, as of 2024, it is up to a third.
Wow.
So that is crazy in just 5 years.
I would wonder if that has a impact from COVID.
100%.
Yeah.
People flocked there to stock up on toilet paper. Says a lot about our nation.
But
I think first thing people stock up on during the pandemic is toilet paper.
I think too, though, it's people have become more like disaster prepared.
Yes.
Like there's more preppers, like the people who take it super seriously. But now now that a disaster actually did strike our country, more people have more stuff in their pantry, more goods stocked up.
I mentioned the statistic earlier in the intro. Costco is the third largest retailer in the world behind Amazon and Walmart. That one really surprised me. I don't know what I thought it would have been. I probably would have guessed some like European or foreign company, but or Chinese or something. Absolutely incredible. It's number 3. Costco sells half of the world's cashews. I just thought that was interesting. You like cashews?
I do. They're sort of a luxury nut.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you go to someone's house, like for a dinner party, and they got a bowl of cashews, they rich. Costco has a 93% membership renewal rate, which is unbelievable. So 93% of members renew their membership each year. This blew my mind. Membership fees account for 2/3 of Costco's annual income. 2/3. I would have maybe guessed a quarter, maybe as much as like 40%, but I never would have imagined the vast majority. 2/3 of Costco's income is from membership fees. Incredible.
Totally remarkable. I wonder if, I guess there are some people who are members and just don't shop there very often, or things change and they have it for a while, or it's like, well, I want to be able to go there whenever I want, and I have $60 a year, whatever, I'll pay it.
Yes, yeah, it could be. There's those apps that keep track of all those, subscriptions you have.
Yeah.
People got to get more of those.
You could just be financially responsible and check your bank statements every now and
that's
again.
true. You don't necessarily need an app and have to give your data up just to know you got 2 Netflix accounts. Another statistic, Costco sells 200 million hot dogs per year. 200 million hot dogs. And half of them go to Joey Chestnut. No, I don't know.
That is just an unfathomable amount of hot dogs.
I'm
trying to picture it in my mind. It's
don't
impossible.
try. Your brain's going to explode. Not enough relish in the world for them. The Kirkland Signature brand, here's a statistic. The brand itself generates more revenue each year than Nike or Coca-Cola. Unbelievable. So when you talk Kirkland Signature, you put respect on Kirkland Signature's name, okay? Jordans, Coca-Cola, they don't hold a candle to peanut butter-filled pretzels, okay? Or big tube socks. This was a statistic from the Wall Street Journal. In 2024, Kirkland Signature did $86 billion in revenue.
Wow. That is incredible. I mean, they do slap that brand on a whole array of products, which I suppose makes sense. And there are some that are quite expensive that they put their name on as well, some of the more luxury items. But yeah, it's just, I think, hey, man, if most of your store is Kirkland Signature and you are the 3rd biggest retailer in the world, I guess it makes sense.
Quick break. We'll be right back. Now, you and I are not Costco members, but because Costco has membership, there's almost this secretiveness to Costco. It almost makes it feel like kind of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And if you have a membership, you have a golden ticket, right?
Yeah, well, they just don't do any press. I mean, you just don't really know anything about them. I mean, that 2024 New York Times article is one of the first articles I can ever remember really being written about Costco. And you basically hear from nobody at Costco. Like the general manager, there's an anecdote where he's on the floor greeting people, shaking hands, inspecting the wares, and then the journalist comes up to him. He's like, "Hi, I'm from the New York Times," and then he immediately just goes into press release quote mode, and he's giving you absolutely nothing. And so I think there's just no knowledge. Like we know Bezos, we know Zuckerberg, we know Steve Jobs, we know these founders of these great companies, and they all have this sort of personality that we've been able to decipher about them. I don't even know who the CEO of Costco is.
No clue. And we probably should have done the research, but we were busy. doing research about what our favorite items are to buy currently at Costco. I want to talk now about sort of what being a Costco member means, sort of what it says about you as a person. I think the biggest thing is if you are a Costco member, there is a mix of two things. You have the savviness of someone who knows a good deal at a supermarket, but you also have a dash of affluence. It is a commitment to pay $60 a year, whatever the membership fee is, to be a member of Costco. So there is this sense of, okay, like I'm a smart shopper, but also I'm willing to invest in the fact, and I have the resources to invest in the fact that I am a smart shopper.
That and the affluence, I think, comes from, you are getting good deals at Costco, but you're typically leaving Costco with a pretty hefty bill.
Oh, yeah.
And usually bigger than you probably thought you were walking in there to spend. And I think that's another mark of Costco is that even though they don't upcharge their items, you somehow get upsold on their items just because they're so tempting and the deals are so good and everything is of such a high quality that you buy stuff that, you could probably live without, or certainly don't necessarily need it in the quantity that you purchase it in.
It's very tempting when you're at Costco to over purchase. Once you shop at Costco, it's kind of hard to go anywhere else. I mean, do you think it makes it sort of cult-like? Like, do you feel like Costco members are almost like this cult and you have to kind of buy your way in, and then once you cross the line, it's like, man, I'm full Costco now. Do you think there's a sense of that?
Certainly. I mean, as somebody who doesn't hold a card but knows people, our parents are also card-carrying members of Costco, I do feel like an interloper when I'm in there and like, like I'm at a church where I don't belong. Like, I'm not of the denomination, but I'm like, let me see, what are the snacks they're serving afterwards. But yeah, it does, I think, too, have just this supremacy of all other supermarkets. I mean, you go into other supermarkets after being in Costco, and it's like, these portions, they're so tiny. I can't buy this. This isn't a good deal. Like, it's just so much more. Everything is just so much more at Costco.
I think at the same time, though, it can get a little samey. Like, yes, there's a huge variety at Costco, but you go and you get the same thing a few times, and it's like any other grocery store where it's like, I'm buying cheese again, I'm buying this again. But the way Costco differentiates itself is there will occasionally be these new items. They're always cycling in new items that will really appeal to you, and there's that thrill of discovery, that first initial high of, oh my goodness, I found these ice cream bars. I didn't even know these existed. And then someone's like, yeah, man, like those are the last 10. You got to get one of them. They've been selling out like crazy, right? There is that treasure hunt feel to shopping at Costco that I think is very, very enticing.
That's, I think, other than its secretiveness, the closest thing to Willy Wonka. It's like, oh, what will they come up with next? Wouldn't be surprised to see everlasting gobstoppers made by the Kirkland signature brand.
If you are a Costco member too, I think you are the bedrock of whatever family you have. So whether you are just a member yourself, whether you're in a couple, whether you are, the card-carrying member of a family of 5 or 10, whatever the case may be, you are the bedrock. You are the person with the credit card, as it were, right? You are the person with the deed to the house, right? If you have the Costco membership, it shows you are the most trustworthy, responsible person in your family unit. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah. I feel like, especially too, even at I remember again in college, if there was one kid who lived in a house of 8 dudes who had the Costco card, it's like, well, that's our representative. That's our ambassador.
Last thing, there almost is, Costco. One thing I really love about it is its diversity of different types of foods and different cuisines it has. It has a lot of international items, and it gives it almost that feeling of like a bazaar or like you're at an international market. And I think that's something that really differentiates it from other grocery stores. And you obviously the clientele and the consumers are very diverse, and that's another uniquely American thing about it. It really is something I really admire, particularly in Los Angeles when I go to Costco. It's just like you're going to see every type of person there, and you can buy any type of food there, and it's really, really special, I think.
Costco does not prescribe you live any way. That there is no ethos to Costco. Any type of person can go to Costco. Any type of person can get what they need at Costco. Costco's basically its motto is, you want it, we got it, and a whole lot of it.
That's a good motto. Really quick, let's just pitch some PR for Costco in case they ever make an advertisement. This was going to be our other game, but we thought of a better one. That's a good one. I was trying to think of one where, there's that saying, go big or go home.
Yeah.
I was thinking Costco could do go big, then go home. Like, go big when you're at Costco, buy all these things, then just go home and enjoy all the big things, right?
That's true. I wonder what the impact of Costco is on restaurants, because once you buy food at like in the local area, because once you buy food at Costco, it's like, I can't go out. I've got 36 chalupas. I got to eat those.
That's a good segue into our last sort of thing we'll talk about before we go to break and finish with our game. We've been bowing at the altar of Costco this whole time. So I think to sort of put a bow on this, we got to discuss some of the controversies. Costco, like us, like anything, is imperfect. So we have to discuss a couple of the knocks against Costco. One thing we've kind of alluded at is Costco is intrinsically a proponent of overconsumption and thus a proponent of waste. All the shipping and packaging that is required to stock a Costco, all the wasted food. Anecdotally, most people you talk to who are card-carrying members of Costco or who shop at Costco waste food. They're just like, oh, man, I just bought too many eggs because it was just such a good deal, or I just bought too much pre-shredded cheese and it went bad, or milk or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's something that just, again, anecdotal evidence, but that is something I've noticed with a lot of people who shop at Costco is it almost it tempts you into overbuying and over consuming, and then a lot of stuff goes to waste. So I think compared to a typical grocery store, that is one problem I think Costco has in terms of its consumers.
Yeah, I would have to imagine that Costco is one of the world leaders in food waste. And it's just because I think some of the packaging is a little bit too big, or you go and if you don't belong to a multi-generational family living in a compound, it really is just hard to consume all of it in a reasonable manner, unless it's frozen, unless you get sort of the non-perishable goods.
Yeah, pantry goods, stuff like that. One thing they do to combat waste is they don't have bags at checkout. However, another knock against Costco, checkout is the Wild West there, okay? They are just kind of dumping your things down the conveyor belt and giving you old boxes that used to house oranges to carry or to schlep your stuff to the car. And yes, they encourage you to bring canvas bags and all that stuff. But frankly, their portions are so huge that they're not going to fit in typical grocery bags. So you find yourself lugging just huge boxes and huge sacks out to your car and kind of, sifting through it under the hot sun, right, in the parking lot. So that is one thing where, the average American, even in the best of circumstances, is not great at checkout. Most people don't have the get up and go to start bagging, to help out, to have their credit card or money ready to go, right? Even the best of circumstances, people aren't great. And it's especially bad at Costco. I feel like for how efficient a lot of the cashiers are, a lot of the people are just kind of helpless,
Yeah, it's almost like asking too much of the people who are shopping there. It's like, oh, I didn't realize I had to snap into action to match you. And those checkers, man, they are fast.
Whew, there's one lady in Los Angeles. I should get her name and try to send her something. I told her, man, she's the fastest I ever saw. And I was just looking at her. Everyone's like, just getting through the line. I was staring at her. I was like, you are the fastest gun in the West, lady. You are number one at this store. I've been coming here and you are number one, man. And you don't want to be in a duel with her. This kind of goes into the overconsumption of waste. I think Costco, too, breeds a somewhat unhealthy shopping mindset in that you are encouraged to overbuy. You are encouraged to try new things. And maybe this is a me problem. You're just never going to buy it all, right? No. You're never going to buy every single snack. You're not going to be able to try every single thing. But shopping at Costco, they make you feel as though you should or you can. And again, it's just I just feel like, and it's not the most scientific argument, but I just feel like at Costco there is this incentive to overbuy, to overconsume, and almost this FOMO if you leave certain things on the shelves.
Yeah, I mean, you're pot committed. You've already given them money to belong there as a member, and so you're like, well, I guess I should get that. I'm kind of wasting my membership if I don't really load up here. This is the only store where I pay money to belong. So yeah, I agree with that.
Costco has had a couple issues in the past regarding working with suppliers who were accused of animal cruelty. Stocking chicken products where the chickens, were in tight cages, stuff like that. But there was one instance I wanted to bring up because it's just very, very fascinating. I found this was from a CNN article titled "Costco Drops Chowco Coconut Milk Over Allegations of Forced Monkey Labor." Now, I had never heard of forced monkey labor. The article was written by Lauren Paget in 2020. Have you ever heard of forced monkey labor?
I was not aware you could force monkeys to labor.
I will enlighten you. So this is a practice that happens mainly in Thailand and Malaysia. Essentially, monkeys are trained from a young age to harvest the coconuts, which are high up in trees, which, you think about it, it's like, okay, monkeys can get up there and it's safer for them than humans. But if they do not obey, they are beaten by their handlers, which is not good, right? Which is an animal rights violation. And PETA, investigated this Chowco coconut milk company. And this was PETA's statement, quote, "When not being forced to pick coconuts or perform in circus-style shows for tourists, the animals, the monkeys, were kept tethered, chained to old tires, or confined to cages barely larger than their bodies. One coconut farmer confirmed that when monkeys are terrified and try to defend themselves, handlers may have their teeth pulled out." So, essentially, if the monkeys are trying to bite them, the handlers have their teeth pulled out. So, there's this total instance of animal cruelty. Again, a world I've never really heard of, and I'm sure our listeners are unfamiliar with as well. But I'll ask you this. Do you blame a company like Costco who, works and collaborates with tens of thousands of different brands from all over the world? Do you blame them when this sort of stuff happens? Like, do you actually find this to be a reflection of Costco? Or is this just an instance of, okay, Costco is working with this company, this information got revealed, they dropped them? Do you find it's a reason when these sort of things happen to these major companies where it's like, I'm going to swear off Costco, or like, this really changes my view of them?
Not if they do what Costco did and they drop the coconut milk once the investigation comes out. I mean, I think you can't possibly be held responsible for screening the labor practices of you just sort of assume they're above board. And I'm sure they do a little bit of due diligence. But yeah, something like this, isn't going to turn me off from Costco. More, it would have to be to even crueler than this. I mean, this is pretty bad, but it would have to be more systematic throughout. Like, if there was the Kirkland signature brand that was doing this, then it would be different. But if it's just somebody that you're putting in your stores, that's, I think, something where I think a lot of people have a good amount of leeway with Costco and don't hold them too responsible. However, it does make you think, like, PETA often, I feel like, pursues somewhat spurious causes or trumps up charges. Although I will say this, when there is something that is related to animal cruelty and PETA's on the case, look out. Because if they have the right, like, we saw this on like Chimp Crazy and Blackfish, like when they have you over a barrel, they've got you, and they're really going to press their advantage. Because so often they're making, like, it seems like mountains out of molehills. When they actually have a mountain, whoo boy.
They're bird dogs. They'll sniff you out. Maybe shouldn't have compared them to an animal, but what do I know? All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, our latest game, Do You Trust? If we had a studio audience, this is the portion where they would shout out, "Do you trust?" And then we'd come out, dun 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 dun, or double-breasted suits. We are playing Do You Trust? We were inspired to play this because Costco is so trustworthy. We want to see if other things can be just as trustworthy, or if they're not worth trusting at all. So we're going to take turns asking each other if you trust certain things, and we'll answer and discuss. You want to go first, or shall I go first?
I've got a real topical one. We record our episodes a little bit in advance, but I think this one is still going to be relevant.
Okay, so just so you know, listener, this was very relevant 3 weeks ago. Go for it.
Do you trust that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are actually in love?
Yes, I trust it.
Me too.
I trust it. Boy, where do I even begin with this? Yes, I trust it. I don't know that I have to explain it too much. I'm not that cynical. I think she's been mistreated by many men in her life, and he's clearly a golden retriever type personality that just absolutely worships her, and as a woman of her stature should be worshipped. Seems to treat her very well, and yeah, I think it's all going to work out. I'm happy for him. I'm engaged. They're engaged.
Yeah. Well, getting engaged is so hot right now.
It's really, yes, it's quite popular.
They were sort of following your lead.
Yeah, they're sort of following our lead, you might say. I do trust it.
Me too. Me too. They're both kind of calculating media figures, but I think this is genuine.
Yeah, if the worst thing about them is they're slightly corny, there's higher crimes. Do you trust the 5-second rule?
I do.
You do?
I don't know that it is the law, the letter of the law of the 5-second rule that germs do not stick to something if it's been on the ground for 5 seconds. However, I don't think it's that bad of a thing to get a little germs.
I'm going to name a couple things that will fall to the ground and tell me if you would still eat them after the 5-second rule. Chip.
It depends what ground, I guess.
Ground, floor of your kitchen.
Yes.
A sandwich you took a long time to make, but it lands it lands like meat down.
Oh, man. That is tough.
Like it splits open, the ham hits the floor, and the lettuce spills out.
Mayo splattered everywhere.
Yeah.
That would be a tough one. It wouldn't just be very appetizing at that point. Floor ham, I don't know. I think dry is very important. The chip is dry, the ham is wet. The ham is, I feel like the wetness soaks up stuff.
Let's say for sake of argument, these are all on your kitchen floor.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yes. Sandwich, are you doing this, yes or no?
No, because it's, well, if
Not
if it lands intact, if it lands on bread and nothing goes flying, yes. If it opens and the ham and the mayo splatter to the floor and they're wet, I feel like they're soaking up whatever it is immediately. Bacteria, they like moisture.
Huge scoop of ice cream, and if you wanted to, you could take like the top 2/3 of it and then get rid of the bottom third.
I could probably live with that. Depends on the type of ice cream. Although, again, this is veering into wet territory once again. If it was very, very cold, if it was so cold it was like a stone, and I could just pick it up and put it back in, maybe. But if if it's melting already, it's hard for me to do that. I see our producer Will Slade shaking his head. No, he's disgusted by me.
He's a fastidious man who probably does not subscribe to this rule, which I don't always as well, Will. Just so you have an ally in this. All right, go ahead. Next one.
Do you trust dogs?
I was bit by a dog when I was a young boy, and it's given me sort of a lifelong, somewhat hesitation, not fear, but hesitation of dogs. And then recently, a dog bit me on my foot. We were over at a party, and a dog bit my foot. And the person was like, he's having fun with you. And I'm like, my foot kind of hurts. So I will say, yes, I do trust dogs. I don't trust all dog owners, but I do trust dogs. I think we have domesticated them over hundreds, thousands of years. And good pups, good pooches, I'm all good with. But sometimes you'll have a dog owner who's a little too laissez-faire with their pooch, and the dog will kind of run wild. But I do trust dogs.
Speaking of the 5-second rule, dogs certainly believe in the 5-second rule. And I would say I trust the dogs of people I trust. But if it's a stranger, when you're walking down the street and a stranger with a dog really grips their dog tight and starts whispering reassuring things to the dog, that I don't like. That I don't trust.
That makes me a little nervous. Well, you mentioned a famous blonde lady earlier, Taylor Swift. I'm going to mention another famous blonde lady here. Do you trust that Sydney Sweeney will have a long career in Hollywood?
Yeah,
I
think
do
she
too.
will.
I
Yeah.
really do. We've had some of these actors, a couple that came to mind, like Anya Taylor-Joy, I feel like came along and was going to do just absolutely huge, and she is still very famous in very big projects, but I don't feel like ever quite hit those peak, like Queen's Gambit, she was just huge, and I just don't feel like a lot of the subsequent movies, have lived up to the hype. But people like Zendaya, Florence Pugh, they've come along and sustained the career. Millie Bobby Brown, another person who, big splash with Stranger Things, and then kind of since then, hasn't had too many hits. But I do think, Sydney Sweeney, she almost has this it's almost like she would have been famous in the 70s. She just has this like kind of like that era Hollywood Farrah Fawcett aesthetic to her. And yeah, obviously being white, blonde, blue-eyed in the United States of America is going to give her a leg up. But yeah, I do, when I see her in projects, I do like her. I know a lot of women who, feel as though she's not really for the girls. She's maybe a little more geared toward male taste and male gaze, and seems to kind of embrace that. So I'm curious to see how her career will develop. But I do think she's talented and picks interesting projects.
That you showed admirable restraint in not mentioning her other attribute that many would claim gains her fame. She's also, I think, really good at staying in the news when she's not in a movie.
Yes, that's
which
huge.
is a
That's
major
huge.
way to stay a popular celebrity in American culture.
That's huge.
Is it me?
Yep.
Do you trust UV ratings?
Oh, like the UV's high today,
Yeah.
wear sunscreen. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
For sure.
I think
for
you
sure.
gotta.
Yeah, for sure.
As a man who's had multiple moles cut off his body, I have no choice but to trust them.
Here's another kind of health and wellness one for you. Do you trust air purifiers? Those little things you plug into a wall and they're meant to purify the air of COVID and other viruses.
I turn them on if there's
So
one
do
around
I.
just in case.
So do I.
But I don't know. A
Yeah.
lot of times if I'm not in charge of the filter, it seems sometimes like maybe I'm just spreading more filth around the room.
Feels like a placebo effect, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's a bit reassuring. Speaking of UV, I remember during COVID we had this UV sanitizing wand that I used to hit our masks with.
Yes.
Now that was a placebo. I think, if
That
there ever
was,
one.
I think we bought that. Someone had also sold us a bridge at the same
Yeah.
time. I think
Yeah.
we bought them together. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Here we go. Do you trust drivers on the freeway?
Oh, yeah, like 98% of them, 99% of them. There's a couple who are a little crazy, and you can get annoyed if you're caught in traffic. But I think about that so much. Like, drive anywhere for like 40 minutes, and, you won't be able to, but count how many cars you interact with. And it's just like, knock on wood, I haven't really been in any serious accidents. It's like, it is incredible that like this ballet of cars occurs all over the world every day, day after day, minute after minute. And there are a lot of accidents. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of auto accidents, but there definitely could be a lot more for how many cars are on the road. So I do
Absolutely.
trust my fellow man behind the vehicle.
There
and
is-
lady.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. You're careening along at
Yeah.
60 to 80 miles an hour. It's a really remarkable thing. The robots haven't even really quite figured that out. Waymo, that's sticking to city streets. They're not really going on the freeway.
Do you trust any fad diet? So I'm not saying like Mediterranean diet or these sort of proven lifestyle diets. I'm saying like keto, Atkins. Well, I guess Atkins is okay. Well, whatever. A fad diet. Any of these a carnivore diet. Any of these really popular ones. Do you trust any of them?
No, not for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that they lead. I think, balanced fruits and vegetables, all sorts of different food groups. That's the way to stay healthy, along with moving around a bit. But yeah, I mean, they're searching for a shortcut, a way to get around, just a generally healthy lifestyle. But, that it is crazy, though. You do see some people who it works for.
Yeah.
It's like the people who bought Bitcoin at the right time and got money off of it. It's like, I would never trust that. But clearly it worked for you.
Yeah,
so,
glad it worked out. For
God
you.
bless.
Yeah. Go for it.
Do you trust the Sacramento Kings?
Not this upcoming season. I'd love if we were 500, but I'm sure we'll talk about it more on the podcast as the basketball season commences. But I'm a little nervous for sure. I like our head coach, Doug Christie, former player. I like a lot of the players. But we're in a period of transition, let's say, and we can leave it at that.
I love them, but I do not trust them.
Do you trust? I have 2 left.
I've got 3.
All right. Do you trust that your recycling is getting recycled?
No, they've told us.
Yeah,
They've told us it is, and
yeah.
it's really sad. I still separate it
Yeah.
just in case, like, somebody figures it out. soon.
Yeah.
Which that's a major. Let's
It's-
get the smart guys thinking about that instead of AI. Let's ask ChatGPT, how can we responsibly recycle things?
It's something like 80% of it doesn't get recycled or something. Right?
Yeah, well, because it's too expensive to do it here, and then other countries were like, "We'll take it, we'll figure it out," and they took it, and they don't know what to do with it either, and so it's just piling up.
All this stuff from Costco that we didn't eat.
Yeah.
All right, your turn.
Do you trust the post office?
Yeah, they do a pretty good job.
You don't think they're rooting through your mail, reading your letters?
Well, there was we were moving recently, and I had misplaced this wedding invite, and I think I had accidentally thrown it out, and it got returned to who sent it to me, and it was the post office apologizing, basically saying, "Oh, sorry about this. We have the utmost standards in our mail delivery, and this shouldn't have happened and stuff." And the person who invited me to the wedding reached out to me, and I was like, "Oh, I was looking for that." So clearly they were rooting through my trash. I don't really know any other. I obviously got mistakenly tossed, but they were rooting through my trash. So I if they're so dedicated to getting the mail delivered that they're rooting through trash, I kind of got to tip my cap to them.
Yeah, I trust them. Pretty much every experience I've had with the post office is good. It's a miracle, frankly. I think that we just sort of take for granted that you can send something wherever you want all around the United States. It's great.
Do you trust Uber drivers?
Ooh. Certainly, there's been some stories.
Because you
recently.
do trust Uber drivers. They've always gotten you where you want to go. But isn't it crazy? We're just trusting strangers to drive us around.
Yeah, it's one of those things, though, where it's like doing your job in an upright manner is more profitable than not doing it in a upright manner. I mean, it's like for an NBA player gambling on a game. It's like just play in the NBA and you'll make more money than this one-time benefit of breaking the law, which is sort of the same theory I take with Uber drivers.
I trust them to get me where I'm going. As someone who's car sick, I also trust that they're usually going to make me car sick with the jerky stopping and starting. You got two left?
I'm gonna cut one, and I have one last one here.
Finish it off. Go for it.
Do you trust your brother?
Oh, of course, buddy. Of course I trust you. You got to be kidding me, buddy. Of course I trust you. But not as much as our producer, Will Slade. And with that, please subscribe, comment, and leave a rating. Send questions, comments, or big idea suggestions to our business email, flynnbrospod@gmail.com. Thank you to our producer, the very trustworthy Will Slade. And we'll see you next time on the Flynn Brothers Podcast. Take care, buddy.
Buddy, you take care.